Welcome to another episode of uh, Blue and Spencer versus the MCU, where Blue, that's me, and Spencer, that's him. Say hello, Spencer.
Hello.
Where
Hello,
we
hello.
watch MCU movies and then talk about them. Pretty simple concept. How you
I know,
doing
sounds
this
pretty
week?
hard for me.
Yeah, I know.
I'm doing good. Doing good. I hope this will make for quite an interesting conversation as you shared with me a couple thoughts ahead of time, but I've already shared nothing with you, so we'll
Yeah,
see.
you could
We'll see how this
like,
goes.
yeah, we don't really coordinate our thoughts beforehand. Um, so we kind of just start recording. Um,
Start
yeah.
recorded.
So this
Screw it.
week,
We're doing it here now. Can't say
yeah,
live because we're not live, but
yeah, no.
we're doing it now at this moment.
We're this week we're talking about the Incredible Hulk, the 2008 film that does not star uh Mark Ruffalo, which
Zero Mark Ruffalo's.
I I
Sorry.
I I I'm not gonna lie, I forgot that Mark Ruffalo was not the original Hulk. I watch this and I'm like, who's this guy on the cover? Is that like
It's
who?
Edward Norton.
That is Edward. Well, I know that now, but
Now.
I forgot that it wasn't Ruffalo because he does it so well. Um, Ruffalo, that's a Fight Club guy, isn't it?
Confession, I've never seen Fight Club.
Neither have I.
Oh, okay.
I just know that he was in Fight Club. Hold on, right? I think he was. Yeah,
I'm
he
not
was.
familiar with a lot of stuff that he's in other than MCU stuff. I know there's a big movie recently here he's in called Poor Things.
Who Edward Norton? He's still making movies?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Mark Ruffalo. So.
Oh, Mark Ruffalo, I don't know either. I know he's
Oh,
Hulk.
Edward Norton was in. I saw him in something too, but not too far along. He was in Glass Onion.
Oh, yeah,
Knives Out sequel. He apparently
not
did a voice in Isle of Dogs, which is a very weird movie. Oh yeah, there's Fight Club.
yeah, Edward Norton. I have not. Um, haven't really. Edward Norton's not an
Yeah, there's a
actor
lot of
I'm all
stuff I'm
that
not familiar with.
interested
Like
in.
even stuff that I haven't even really heard of. There's not a lot.
I'm noticing here that
So
it doesn't look like Wikipedia has a specific place for his acting credits, which just it tells you something. But anyway, he was
this is
Hulk.
why IMDb is where you go for all movie stuff.
No,
But besides the point.
this isn't an Edward Norton episode. This is the Hulk, which he played. He played Bruce Banner. Um,
He
wouldn't
did.
have been my first pick, but they didn't consult me as I was 4 and was too
How dare
busy,
they not confront
you
the
know,
4-year-old?
chewing on plastic peas and shit. I don't know. I don't know what I was up to back then. I was 4. Um, but anyway, so let's get this recap out of the way because I have thoughts on this movie. So
Let's get into it.
once upon a time in Virginia, Thunderbolt Ross, a military general, met Bruce Banner. I don't think this is shown in the movie. I think this is just like the intro. Um, but
Right.
they worked together on a um,
All this
gamma ray.
beginning stuff is hinted at in the intro, yes.
Yeah, it's like a massive intro. I think I like DM'd you like, oh my god, the first 3 minutes are are all
Yeah.
intro. What is this? It's a lot of intro. But anyway, they do an experiment on gamma radiation. Um, but secretly, it's a super soldier program that Thunderbolt Ross is trying to restart. The exposure to gamma radiation causes Banner to turn into the Hulk. Um, Hulk destroys the lab, kills a bunch of people in the process, and then gets the hell out. Um, and then just becomes a fugitive. One thing that this movie does that, like, okay, so for context, I actually like Hulk as a character, not just because
I
of
love
the
him in the comics.
he's a great character in the comics. Um, in the movies, he's okay. I think the newer stuff has kind of made him weird, but we're not going to get into that until we get into that. Uh, we've got like a
Facts.
couple months, but um, so they made it specifically, and this hasn't been this. I don't think this was ever a thing in the comics. It's when his heart rate reaches 200, which is very strange. Because I do not believe that there's a precedent of that in the comics.
uh,
It's just when he's
yeah,
angry.
I'm not sure it is. I can see that being an easy readable indicator
Yeah,
for what it's tied to. I don't know if there's ever been a reason like that given in the comics, but I could see
I
how
mean,
that's a thing,
I
right?
get it. I get that they had
Like
to
here's the thing. Hulk is tied to rage. Is there a thing to where if you get angry, does your heartbeat speed up like that?
it does, but I don't think it's ever. I don't think they ever explicitly say rage is what causes Hulk to Hulk out. They just say when his heart rate gets high enough, which is very strange to me.
I think there could be a connection there, though, and it's something that we definitely could have. I think it was maybe hinted at, but it wasn't
I mean, yeah.
necessarily
I mean, he
maybe
says you
shown,
wouldn't
though.
like me when you're angry, so obviously
Right. Well,
he knows that it's anger, but like for
I
what's
was just gonna
supposed to
say.
be an origin story, it's very strange that they took out a major part of his character.
Well, that's the other thing too. Is I don't necessarily consider this an origin story.
I
Uh,
mean, it establishes him as a hero more so than
okay, not an origin. Okay, the origin for the hero part, not for the character.
yeah. I mean, I suppose you're not necessarily wrong. I consider it an origin story, but I also consider it. I also don't consider it all that often, if I can help it. Uh, so
Well,
you know,
well. Anyway, well, you were talking about this whole flashback sequence, right? And it hints at this whole sort of if you're this whole
it
origin of
hints
Hulk
at the
of like
actual
he was
origin.
tested on and it's kind of shown there, right? Like you see it, but it's not fully
It's not
explored
explicit.
like it is like the origin of Iron Man. That we
Yeah,
just
because
covered last episode. If you haven't, go check it out.
ooh,
And
absolutely.
so,
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, no,
and
because
so,
Iron Man, it
uh,
definitely it explicitly says this is what happens. It gives it time to build up. Hulk, it's kind of just like, okay, these things have already happened. Now we're gonna deal with the
right.
consequences of it, which I'm not opposed to. I do like. What's a good like non-origin story first movie? Homecoming, which I have thoughts on Homecoming, but we can wait.
Sure.
We've got time.
Well,
Um,
pertaining to this movie, with it not being your regular origin story, when going back, and we have this massive like influx of a lot of superhero stories, movies, origin stories, just kind of feeling the same, right? Because of this sort of story structure or pattern, whatever you want to call it, that Iron Man set up did so huge. It kind of set up in a way an easy formula for a lot to follow,
yeah.
including Marvel themselves. But then we've also seen some other people doing it too. Like I felt heavy Iron Man vibes from Blue Beetle. So going
Oh, I
back
think I think we said that
to,
last week. That was definitely they
I
definitely
think we
changed.
talked about it after the fact, but
Ooh, maybe. But
um,
no, I yeah, absolutely.
but
They definitely.
but watching this though, to me, how it told the story was refreshing because this was before, even though it came out months after. Obviously the story was written way before Iron Man,
Oh no.
so it was
Well,
already,
yeah, yeah.
like they tried doing their own thing, and I did like how the story was told of it being like, okay, I think there would have already been, if you're a fair amount of Hulk fans that already know the origin of it, because we had the big Incredible Hulk show that happened
Yeah.
with, I don't remember his name, and so like people know
Lou
that, right?
Ferrigno.
Thank you. Yes,
Lou
with good
Ferrigno.
Lou Ferrigno, exactly.
Yeah.
And
No,
so I really, something that I hope this wish more superhero movies took after, though, that this movie does, is kind of
is
beginning in what I consider a chapter 2 of their story, as
I
opposed to seeing the
I get
chapter
that.
1 of every single hero over and over and over and again. And I feel like that's a big problem that a
Yeah.
lot of movies have.
Um.
Because while, like I said, connected to Blue Beetle, I was watching it and I was like, this is good, but it like,
But it could
other
be
than
better.
one aspect that's different, it felt like the same thing that we've already seen
I
a
mean,
dozen
the
times at least.
characters are very different, but I do
Sure.
absolutely get what you mean. Is it's we're rehashing territory, but also we could go on and on about the DCEU.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Um,
Point all that was getting to is I liked
is you
this
like that it did start in
form
chapter
of
2.
story. Right. I like this form of story, especially for something in the MCU, because this was before they kind of was set in their ways of what people call that MCU formula.
Yeah. No, I understand. I wanted to say this is mildly off topic. I do hope that because another movie that kind of did this in a different way was Eternals. It didn't really it the main plot kind of started in like a much later fashion, but
Mm-hmm.
then the actual like it showed flashbacks. One
Mm-hmm.
thing I'm hoping, one movie that I'm super excited for that I hope is
Yeah.
able to do this is Fantastic Four.
Right. Well,
The
we'll see. I mean,
I think that
that's a
the
whole other
main
conversation right there, though, because there's a lot of stuff I've heard about Fantastic Four, but that's a whole other thing
that's a whole other
to get
episode that we
into.
are not
But
prepared for.
yeah,
We watched Hulk, not Fantastic Four. Granted,
right.
I would be willing to do episodes on those old Fantastic Fours.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, the
Maybe
point is,
we'll figure it out.
it does an origin in a much different and in some ways it's not as clean as what Iron Man did, but it's good. It does it in a good way. Uh, let's
All right.
let's continue this recap today. Um, so 5 years after the whole incident, um, 5 years after the whole incident, uh, Banner works. He works at a bottling factory in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. I think I'm not sure, but he's searching for a cure for the Hulk, and he's working with a guy who I think they call Mister Blue through this entire thing, which is kind of funny, but not really. Um, he's also like learning yoga and doing things to keep himself under control. Um, I think it's said that he hasn't had an incident in like half a year, so he's learning to control it. Um,
Right. Right.
yeah,
Whole part of the movie we see with it.
the
It's
beginning is that he's learning to control it again.
right.
I think this is I thought this was they made a lot of weird decisions in this movie, but I can't really get into my full thoughts on it until later, like later. Um,
Continue
like
on
the
forth
end
then.
of the summary. Um,
Sure.
so later, Banner, who was helping his boss like work
Mhm.
on a machine, accidentally cuts his finger, and some of his blood gets into one of these sodas, which
Rip off Mountain Dews.
you know
Anyway, sorry.
what? I remember like watching this movie. I remember seeing like that factory as like a kid, like probably the last time I watched it as like a little dude. Um, and thinking that was Mountain Dew. Like for the last years and years, I thought that that was a Brazilian Mountain Dew factory, and
Brazilian
going and
Mountain
seeing
Dew.
it, and it was just like, you know, Hill Fizz, those off-brand
It's
sodas.
called.
Yeah, it was very strange. But so he cuts his finger, and then using that to this is like a crazy thing is that they find so this old guy in somewhere in the states gets gamma sickness because of um Banner's blood. It was Stan Lee
Yes.
that was his cameo in this movie, and
Stanley
then
cameo, yes.
and then Thunderbolt Ross, the general, uses that to figure out where Banner is. I thought that was so strange. That is such a strange thing to me that they just went, yeah, this is how they find him. Anyway, weird side tangent. So they use it to track him down, and then go to this. Um,
I think it's plausible a way
it's
for him
it's
to do it. Because if there's only one person that you know that would die from something that may have ever never been seen like that,
yeah,
because it's
gamma
like no one just
sickness.
dies from random gamma,
Yeah,
unless like
no
I
one's
don't
like,
even know how.
yeah, I no one's getting gamma sickness without it being related to the Hulk. But like, it's just so funny that they're like, hey, this guy had gamma sickness. It must have been the soda.
I Yeah, I think it's plausible because it's like
It's a
that
Marvel
the
movie.
military that Ross is
Yeah,
connected to, right? Would
Thunderbolt
have like
Ross
seen reports of that because he was so connected to this
to gamma. Yeah,
superhuman project.
it makes sense. But yeah, it's one of those like through the grapevine, like, hey, Ross, I heard you work on gamma. This happened. Thought
Right.
you might be interested. Like, it seems less like something that you'd use as a genuine military tactic, and more just like, oh, that's crazy. Wait a
Right.
second. And also just it's more that
Right.
they used this
Mhm.
that they immediately knew it was the soda. I thought that was a little weird. I mean, I don't know. I really have no reason to think that's weird.
Okay, I see. Okay.
It's more that they just went, oh, it must have been the soda. But also, like, soda's just like that sometimes,
Well, I mean,
especially when you're drinking off-brand Mountain Dew.
if if
Hey,
oh
man,
god,
you drink
if I
off.
recall if I recall the scene though, he would have dropped it, so people probably would have
Oh, they
been
like
able to
bested the.
analyze it
Okay,
and figuring that out.
I suppose.
There.
I'm just saying, if you're drinking off-brand Mountain Dew, you probably deserve to get gamma sickness.
Wow.
It's not that expensive to buy real Mountain Dew. I can buy Mountain
Ew.
Dew and I'm homeless. Like, come on, Stanley. It's like what 2008. The economy isn't that bad right now. Uh, I'd like to point out
We'll
that I have
look
the
over there.
utmost respect for Stanley as a person.
Yes.
That this is jokes. R.I.P. But
Rest in
anyway,
peace, legend.
absolutely one of the real like the godfathers of modern comic books.
Absolutely.
What awesome guy. Anyway, so they find this off-brand Mountain Dew. They go, ah, Stanley must have been drinking this off-brand Mountain Dew and got gamma sickness. That means that Banner, whatever. So they start mobilizing to go get him from this factory. And uh, during this, they uh, get someone off loans from like the Royal Military or like the Royal Special Forces in England, Emil Blonsky, um, who you might know from
Yep.
his starring role as She-Hulk.
Oh god. All right, come on.
I knew he wasn't gonna like that. So Emil Blonsky is now in the game. Ross explains to so during this whole thing, um, Blonsky and Hulk, or they go to get Hulk. It doesn't go well, and only Blonsky survives, I think. And so Blonsky is like, "Hey, what the fuck was that?" And Ross is just like, oh yeah, that was Banner. Don't worry about it. That's not what he says. He explains to Blonsky what Banner became, and
Right.
uh, then he's like, hey, do you want some Hulk juice? And Blonsky's like, hell yeah, dude, let's do that. This seems like a good idea. Let's ignore the fact I just saw a giant rage monster.
Right, because we saw
But
that in the factory for a little bit.
yeah,
It was cool.
it's a good
All
scene.
right, go on.
I
Yeah,
like the action scenes in this movie a lot. Not that I didn't like them in Iron Man. I just mean like they are really top tier,
well,
or not top tier.
something that I think, I think there's like three main Hulk sequences in this movie, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Though something that I really like that the first one does, I'm not saying that the other two absolutely has elements of it, but the first one does it the best. And I don't feel like we've ever really gotten this with Hulk ever again.
Since
Is that it made him feel like an actual monster.
yeah, it made him frightening. That's one thing that
Right.
I do like. Avengers did it pretty well. I mean, not this good, but definitely pretty decent.
The
The
only it just seems like they kind of like I kind of forgot like really think about it, but like they have that one part where like Hulk is like going through the
the
like narrow
helicarrier.
passageway. But you saw something a lot like it first in this movie though, in that
Yeah,
factory.
yeah, no, definitely.
And
I'm
so
with you on that one. They did a lot. They did the Hulk really well. In like what in his like actions. I actually
Mhm.
have some thoughts on how the movie looks, but I can save those until we're done with the
Sure, absolutely.
summary.
Carry onward.
So, um, Emil gets, Blonsky gets a little dose of the Hulk serum. One thing, and I DM'd you this, I did not like the scene. I don't know what it is with these last two movies and just having these very strange medical scenes. But I don't know if I'm not squeamish or anything, but like, come on, guys. This isn't necessary. We get it. He gets the juice. We
Gets the
understand.
juice.
Like, it's strange to me that they just insisted on having these like weird scenes of just
Mhm.
anyway, that's just me being a little I don't know, like maybe a little squeamish. But I don't think so. I think it's just weird. Anyway, so he gets injected with a little bit of the serum, and it starts to not only impair his judgment but deform his skeleton, which is never what you want after being injected with a Hulk serum. So Banner goes back to Virginia to the university where the whole experiment happened, and reunites with Betty, who is the daughter of Ross. Um, they, he finds out that Betty is like dating someone else. Who I'm looking at the the Wikipedia right now. Apparently, that's supposed to be Leonard Sampson.
Who is that meant to be?
Leonard Sampson.
Yes.
Um, that's really just
And
strange to me. That's
Leonard Samson.
Doc Sampson. Like, let me. I'm gonna send you an image of him, and you'll probably remember.
This is not a character I'm familiar with, but carry on.
He's pretty entrenched in Hulk lore.
Oh, okay, never mind. I've seen him now that I'm looking
Doc
at the
Sampson.
pictures, but
Again,
it's
that's
not one
very
I it's not one I've
it's Hulk lore.
necessarily read a
It's
story on. But I know that I've seen that character a
of
few
the
times, sure.
character.
I know of the character now,
The
yes.
guy from like Modern Family or whatever. That is who that's supposed to
That's
be.
exactly how I look at him. As I looked at that guy thinking, oh, I forgot that the
Is
guy
that the
from Modern
guy
Family had
from
the
Modern
cameo in this
Family? What
movie.
are you doing here? This is a Hulk movie, dog. Get out of here.
Quite
I'm
far away from your house you're supposed to be at,
yeah. What
anyway,
are you
your
doing?
family.
Oh, hold on. I accidentally moved the the poster instead of the image of Doc Samson. But yeah, this is who that was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Which, if you know Hulk lore, no, that's just not that's not Doc Samson. Anyway,
Very weird.
so just a weird thing I noticed. Um, so Betty's boyfriend tips off the military because he's a fucking narc. Uh, and gets Ross on Banner's ass. They show up and Hulk and Hulk and Blonsky have a bit of a tussle. Um, it ends with I think this is the first time where Hulk uses like scrap metal as weapons or like boxing gloves, and they really insisted on him doing that in this movie. And I don't have anything wrong, like a problem with that. It's just like okay, I guess he just never does that again. Like, you know what I'm talking about?
I thought it was cool.
It's cool. Don't get me wrong. It's cool. It's very Hulk, But like, he just never
Sure, I
does it
remember
again
exactly.
after this in all of the
Well,
MCU.
I mean, this is for, I guess, later talk, but like, there's some aspects. I think, to simply put it, without going too deep into it yet, that we'll actually get into, I guess, later on in other episodes, though, is that there's several aspects of Hulk that I think is done well in this that aren't ever shown again later on.
Yeah, I definitely I have some thoughts on Hulk, and I think just with this episode we can also kind of go into the Hulk in general, since we're never going to
Sure.
have this chance again. But yeah, I'm definitely
Not anytime soon, that's for sure.
not really ever. There's never going to be a chance to talk about just the Hulk because they just don't. I mean, She-Hulk, but I think we're going to
Please
have
no.
a different conversation on that episode. Wait, are we doing shows? I just realized it's a show. I guess we could. I have nothing against it. It's not like any of this shows.
Figure it out when we get to that point.
Yeah, we have a few phases.
Just a few.
It's a long.
No, we'll get to Hulk stuff here at the end, I guess.
Anyway, so yeah, so they have this fight. It ends with Hulk winning, obviously, because Blonsky is a guy and Hulk is a Hulk. Raging gamma mutate, not something you want to go 1v1 with.
Right.
I really like how they did it. Is Hulk straight up just kicks him into a tree and all of his bones shatter.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's just cut that shit out.
Right.
Anyway, so Betty and Hulk skedaddle. They go on the lam. Very cool. Eventually eventually this sequence went on a little too long for my liking, but I also don't really care. So they eventually, it all ends in them going to New York City to meet Mr. Blue from earlier. The guy that was helping Banner find a cure. It turns out it is actually cellular biologist Dr. Samuel Stearns, which, if you know your Hulk lore, that's the leader. And I never caught that when I first watched this movie because I was probably like 6 and too busy not knowing anything about Hulk lore.
I remember catching it on like when I got deeper into Marvel, though.
Yeah, hearing the name Samuel Stearns was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Why hasn't he shown up yet? Anyway, we can get into that in a little bit because there is a time to talk about that. So they go and meet Stearns, and Stearns is like, hey, I think I could make an antidote. And Banner's like, yippee. He doesn't say that, by the way. That's not a line. I want to. That's not like direct quote. He doesn't go yippee. It would have been better if he did, though.
Just say yippee.
He says, yeah, I don't have to be Hulk anymore. Well, you don't want Hulk to go yippee? Why can't Hulk go yippee, Spencer? It's some real Hulkism.
Oh my gosh. I just can't imagine his deep, angry voice saying that.
I could imagine Mark Ruffalo saying that. But
well,
also,
yeah,
that's
that's
Mark
Mark Ruffalo, the
Ruffalo,
Hulk.
not Hulk. So
Exactly. All right.
anyway, so he goes Yippee.
Get
They um and Stearns is like um she's like, okay, so this might kill you, and it might also only work once. So this might be like a one time, like you're getting once.
right.
And he's like, that's okay. But then Stearns reveals that he's actually been like testing Hulk blood on like rats and shit. Um, and Hulk is like,
Hmm.
how about no? That's not cool. Because Hulk being a Hulk is bad. I think that's the moral of the
Right.
movie is you don't want to be Hulk. It's the whole torment nexus. It's like, my
Well,
movie, don't create the Hulk.
I mean, like the whole thing with Hulk is that it's literally
It's his
the
curse.
whole point of the character of Hulk is that it's a literal sort of personification that everyone has a monster, right?
Yeah,
Especially when like a lot of people are angry. You know, people may do actions that they don't fully think too rationally or
yeah.
irrationally, my bad.
No, I know the
And
whole
so
point of
you get what
Hulk
I'm
is that
saying.
you don't want to be Hulk, but like, yeah, it was like a one-off joke. Anyway, so Banner's like, destroy it. We're done. And he's like, but I don't want to. And then Ross shows up and is like, hey, go in my helicopter. He doesn't say that. He arrests them. That's the word I was looking for. They are arrested by the military.
Yes. Yep.
Um,
That happens.
and then Blonsky, who earlier in the movie recovered, but is now like slowly becoming a monster, obviously. Um,
No way.
he stays behind, and he's like, "Hey Stearns, use the Hulk serum on me." And Stearns is like, it might kill you or turn you into like a giant monster." And then Blonsky's
Hmm.
like, "Okay, put the serum in me." And he's like, "Okay," and puts the serum in him because the Hippocratic Oath means nothing in the MCU. Apparently, actually, I don't even think he's a doctor. He's a biologist, but whatever. I'm just saying, like, if a evil looking military guy tells you to put a Hulk serum in him, maybe don't.
So, man, not everyone's bright, all right? There's a
Tip
reason
for
why
all
he's
my
the.
viewers: do not create the Hulk. Don't do that. That's bad.
Yeah. Pro tip, don't.
Yeah, if there's any cellular biologists watching, which I doubt, then sorry, I'm talking to someone
All
about
right.
a campaign. Okay, so because he got the serum, he mutates into the Abomination, which is exactly what Stern said would happen. Um, he attacks Stearns, which during which uh, he gets some of Banner's blood in his head, which starts to
Hmm.
mutate it. And again, he's the leader. It's so strange to me that he has just not shown up again after having this like perfectly good setup for having the leader,
Yeah.
which honestly I would love to see. Like I think that his character was so much fun, even though he, did some stupid shit.
Sure.
And it's just so strange that they never followed through with that. I wanted.
Well,
I just
there is a big reason though, and it's kind of one of those weird things of, uh, Fox had the rights for a while to X-Men and Fantastic Four, and
yeah
that's why they were never in the MCU. And at the end of the day, this is actually a Universal movie that teamed up with whoever did the MCU stuff back then. Um,
Paramount, I believe.
Thank you. And so
Yeah.
it was a Universal movie that was at the end of the day, though,
Yeah.
I believe. And so, and meaning that
For all intents
you
and purposes, they
the
might not be
rules
able to.
the rules were that I think they agreed upon was you could use Hulk and characters in uh as side characters, but you can't have like Hulk in the title or any of those characters necessarily in the title.
No, well, I mean, yeah, I suppose. I would love to see the leader.
Oh, absolutely.
I just,
And
I don't.
supposedly we are getting him.
I've seen that.
He is coming.
He's not coming fast enough.
It's not coming fast enough.
I, I,
Yeah,
I really liked him. I really like this character. I think having
yeah.
him become this like arrogant, like cause he like I really liked how they characterized him as like someone that sees the Hulk as godlike. Like he said that,
Mhm.
and
Right.
that's so good. I think that would be perfect.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, movie rights are a bitch.
They're trying to expand on some stuff now, but well, we'll get into that.
Yeah, we all like She-Hulk. Don't worry, Spencer. I know how much you
Come
love
on.
that show, Spencer.
I absolutely love it so much.
The contempt in your voice. Anyway, this will be the last episode after this. After my shenanigans, this might be the last episode of my life. He's gonna show up. Anyway, don't show up. Anyway, so he becomes the Abomination. Stern starts to get
No
leader.
way.
Abomination starts messing up New York. Simple Hulk stuff.
Simple Hulk stuff.
I don't know what you want. So they start to fight. The fight is actually super cool, I think.
It's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But so they fight. It looks like Abomination's gonna win, and then he doesn't.
Yeah. It
I,
doesn't. It's your big Hulk
I
versus Abomination fight where
yeah.
Hulk wins at the end.
There's your there's your recap.
It's
He
that
wins. He wins at
he
the end.
wins.
He wins. Yeah.
Wins at
Well, yeah. He has to show up in the rest of the MCU. Spencer.
Well,
There's really not much I can say about that fight without going into like crazy detail. Like that's the thing is if I describe it, I
sure.
have to describe it, and
It was a cool CGI monster fight. I think it did its purpose for what it was meant to do for a big final battle.
It definitely does. So Hulk wins. We cut to he almost kills Blonsky. I will say that he almost kills Blonsky, but doesn't because Betty was like, "Hey, don't do that." That's not dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Let me clarify. That also isn't dialogue. I'm not a fan of direct quotes. I'm a paraphraser here. Anyway, so Betty is like, "Hey, don't kill him. That's bad." And Hulk is like, "Okay, I'm a giant rage monster, but let's listen to this 5'8" woman for a second." Again,
Okay.
paraphrasing. So we get a shot of we get a scene of Ross in a bar, and then Tony Stark shows up from the last episode. He's Iron Man.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. I do because he's pitching the team to Ross. Ross feels like the wrong person to pitch it to, seeing as the one metahuman he has experience with, he has been actively trying to kill for half a decade. But do whatever, Tony.
I don't think it was necessarily for an alliance, but I think it's more of him saying, "There's this Hulk guy that we could use.
Hey,
so
we have dibs on the Hulk." And
right,
Ross went,
exactly.
"Shit, who am I gonna
what am I gonna do now?
Recruit for the Thunderbolts now?"
Oh, right. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do the the Accords, whatever the Sokovia Accords.
Sokovia,
that's what it is.
Yes, but that's a story for another.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're not even.
But
I'm actually pretty excited for Age of Ultron. That's Like this is fully serious. This is not like a bit. That's my favorite Avengers movie, and that includes Endgame and Infinity War.
Interesting.
I really loved Age of Ultron.
Interesting. All
My
right,
dad
so
is
Hulk.
yes, yeah, that's what we're talking about. Great job. So, um, Tony Stark tells him that there's a team. Yippee! Then we get a shot of
Team to put together.
Hulk in Canada, and this is a scene that I wanted to talk about. But he starts to
Hmm.
transform, and then we get he like, but he's like controlling it. We get a shot of his face, and he smirks in the camera, and that's it. That's the movie. Like, okay, cool. Why? Why is that? Like, why is that the final scene? Like, why are we now establishing that he's controlling the transformations? Um, so I suppose the first thing I want to talk about in the non summary is they made a lot of very strange decisions in this movie, and you can definitely tell that it wasn't necessarily meant to be part of a um franchise.
Yeah, I mean, the only connection that it really had, it seemed like, was seeing the Stark Industries logo. And
And
so,
Stark
like,
showing
from
up.
a and Stark showing up, obviously,
He
right?
forgot.
And so, I was just gonna say though that like they weren't quite at this point to where well they obviously knew things would be connected, but they didn't really start
Connecting it
heavily
yet.
connecting
Yeah, I
stories,
get
even though
it.
there was a connection.
I get it, but it's still like, what are we doing, folks? Come on.
I mean, the other big thing is too is MCU sort of birthed this whole idea of you can have all these different movies connected all
Connected,
together,
which isn't
and
always
so
necessarily a good thing, but yes.
right, exactly.
But yeah,
But
it felt like they weren't thinking. And again, this could be because I am used to Marvel movies being like, oh yeah, this is gonna happen next. It didn't feel like they were thinking about what comes next. It felt like they were just making a Hulk movie, which I don't have a problem with, but it's just when you're thinking of it in a franchise way, it's just like, okay,
wait, what? Did you hold on?
did I?
Did you know? I was just reading here. I need to look more into this, but
That's a dangerous question.
apparently Lou Ferrigno did the vocal performance for Hulk in this movie.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's really cool. I didn't know
That's yeah, Lou Ferrigno, great guy. I'm assuming. I don't know. He was Hulk.
that.
That's my only knowledge of him. And Hulk is cool. I like Hulk. Yeah, it's just
He,
they were making a
go on.
Hulk movie. They weren't making, part two of a massive franchise. Not a huge problem with
Mhm.
it. It's just it's glitteringly obvious in hindsight that they were making what they were making.
Sure. Yeah,
Nothing wrong
I
with
can
that.
agree with that.
Um, any thoughts you have that you want to bring up before I get to my like next topic?
I mean, I kind of just have like a bit, I guess, like overall thoughts on it.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Uh, I think overall out of MCU movies, it's one that I find very underrated that I think people overlook
I can
because
see
I
that.
think it's a different story that's brought to the table, and I think part of it just is you have a huge disconnect of
This is
Banner
not.
being different,
Yeah.
and that's the big thing. And the other big thing with the story is too is this is I guess we see elements of it kind of in I guess Ragnarok, but like in this movie you see it's really focused on the side of Banner where he's on the run
Yeah.
versus the other times you see him is more the scientist side of Banner.
Yeah. No, I get that.
And
I mean,
so yeah.
yeah, I can definitely. I mean, looking back on Ragnarok, it's like, well, thinking about Ragnarok, because obviously I haven't watched it in a while, because I mean, It's a good movie. I really liked it, but it's not something I just sit down and watch all that often. I don't really make a
Mhm.
habit of just rewatching Marvel movies, to be fair.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
in
Understandable.
you'd think like just baseline thinking about it, in Thor Ragnarok, it feels like he should have been a lot more comfortable being on the run. It really felt like he was just like out of his element, but like he spent 5+ years being on the run. Why are you like now acting like this is a major fucking issue, dude?
Because Ross has a hate boner against him?
Ross in Ragnarok, dude.
Oh, Ragnarok, my bad.
No, it in
Uh,
Ragnarok it genuinely feels like he's just like way too out of his element for someone that spent half a decade on the run. Plus. Sorry, let me rephrase because he was also on the run during the beginning of Avengers. So it's so strange because you mentioned
I'm gonna be
Ragnarok,
honest.
right?
I don't remember the full context of that
Of what?
because
He was just on. He was on.
of why he was on the run.
In Ragnarok, it was because they were on the alien planet with Thor. I just realized
Well,
it was
right.
yeah.
How
Anyway,
did he get there? I was trying to remember.
to the alien planet
Yes.
in Ultron, he flew into space and then became the big gladiator guy.
I guess it shows how long it's been since I've seen Ultron. Okay, carry
Okay,
on.
let's continue. Okay, I have one that's like a big one for me, and
Sure.
this is something I want to talk about at length, real quick, or maybe not at length. I'm not gonna like sit here all night and talk about it.
Hmm.
This movie looks not great. I am not a huge fan of how this movie looks.
Um, I didn't get that vibe, but I can. Well, I think for its time, it looks fine. It would have been fine,
No,
but I
yeah,
think it's definitely very obvious that it was. Oh my god, 16 years! Holy crap! Yeah, a 16-year-old movie. It will be. Okay, 15
yeah.
and a half years. It's been
It's an
of
old
this moment.
movie.
So
It's an old fucking movie. That's what we're getting at. But like, it's
right.
just I can't because I mean, think about Iron Man. Iron Man looks great, and then you watch Hulk, and it's like, oh, this is a major step down. I don't like how Hulk looks. They made him look grimy.
I do agree though that Iron Man's a massive step up, and its CGI holds up phenomenally well,
Yeah,
especially compared
I
to
think we
this.
specifically said that last week is that we like the CGI
Yeah.
because it's really good. But in this one, it's just Hulk looks grimy, which like I get it. It's the Hulk. He's not supposed to, be taking baths. But like,
Hmm.
maybe let's calm down on the veins for a second. Let's maybe not put like I don't know. They made him look like a roided up bodybuilder, which I get that he's supposed to look big. Not that big. Calm down. He's too fucking big. I don't know. I don't like how it looks. It's also just dark a lot. I'm not a fan of dark
It is
movies.
definitely very darkly colored.
Saturation
I
wise,
agree.
not like story wise. I mean, I'm fine with story wise dark, especially if it's Hulk. But like, it's very. I like saturated movies. I'm a big
Sure.
like. If the movie isn't at least a little bright, I can't really. If I can't see it, I'm not gonna enjoy it because visuals are a big thing for me.
Sure.
I'm
I
a I'm
can
a
I can
I'm a
understand
visual
that.
person.
Completely understand that.
But other than that, I mean Hulk looks weird, but Abomination, I think it really worked. Um,
Hmm.
I'm gonna completely be a hypocrite, but like I like that Abomination looks like veiny, but also Abomination is supposed to look like an abomination. He's supposed to be gross. I'm not saying Hulk isn't, but like I think you get what I mean. Is it's just like it's a
They
what do you say 16-year-old movie? I don't really. It's not
Yeah,
gonna kill me.
they did a good job though of making Abomination live up to his name.
Yeah, they made him a
Uh,
creature. I think they could have done better as they did in like later, but also again, it's
mhm.
2018. CGI hasn't been invented yet.
It's interesting though that the biggest thing I'm curious on is why didn't they uh go with that more traditional Abomination look? Like not even in the slightest. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like we got that. It doesn't feel like they tried for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big proponent of the MCU kind of has to change characters to fit their roles, like Taskmaster. So I get that they kind of had to make him look different for his role, but at the same time, like
Hmm.
you're going with the whole thing that his skeleton is being like not edited, but like malformed. So like, why don't you go the extra length and make him monstrous? But I have nothing against it. I like how it looks, and I like the the new Abomination too. I don't think we're ever going to see him again, but yeah, I can live with that. I'm not losing sleep at night over lack of Emil Blonsky. Not anymore, at
Yeah,
least.
not anymore.
No, I
I
like
mean, that's a
I
whole other thing too. Is
yeah
they brought him back and then,
made him
uh,
better.
oh my
Improved
gosh, you know
him
what? We'll get to that for later on. But
much
anyway,
later on. We've got plenty of time. Yeah, I don't know.
exactly.
Like visually, the movie is kind of bleh, but I
I
get it. It's
I definitely understand that. Uh,
it's whatever. Make the creatures
I
more
definitely
creaturey, but make
I
the Hulk
definitely
less
looked at
creaturey.
it and I was like, okay, this feels dated.
Yeah,
Just visually.
I think I think I used the word dated earlier before the call. As I said, this movie is very dated, but
Right.
that's not always a
Yes.
bad thing. Sometimes it can add to the
Sure.
nostalgia.
That's true.
I say that like I have nostalgia for the Incredible Hulk. I watched it probably once when I was 6. That's not nostalgia. I watched a lot of things when I was 6. Probably. I don't know. I don't know what I was doing back then. But
Who knows? Do we even want to know?
I don't know, man. You tell me. Your best guess is probably as good as mine. I don't remember shit.
Oh,
I don't remember like anything before the beginning of high school. So your guess is you could just make up what I was doing back then, and you're probably right. Um,
uh,
what's another thing that we could talk about? So I think so. Here's just a very. I think you'll get the question, but it's very strange. Do you think this movie represents Hulk as a character well?
Hulk?
Like yeah, like Hulk, Bruce Banner,
Yes.
both of them.
Well,
You
it
can't have one without the other.
sure. Well, here's the thing. All right, and going into it is that I think this movie has the best representation of the other side of him,
Of
right? Of
Hulk
the big
over
monster of
yeah.
Hulk, right? Because I don't think any of the movies really touched on the character of Hulk as well as it has in this movie.
Yeah,
Um,
they've
but
tried, I
then,
think, but they haven't really.
right,
Because here's the thing: is I think this movie does a very good job of showing the horror factor of Hulk. Because
and
Hulk
that's a
is
whole
scary.
huge part.
Hulk is
That's a
scary.
huge part of
He's a
it.
terrifying
Hmm.
beast, and no movie has gone at length to um, bring this up. And I talked about this when I said like we can go over Hulk as a character. It really kills
Hmm.
me that it does. I don't think we're gonna get any good Hulk content anymore. I personally like She-Hulk, but that wasn't Hulk content, and it kills me that
Sure.
we're never gonna get like an immortal Hulk adaptation. You
Yeah,
know?
what I've heard, the murmurings I've heard of something that could happen keep in mind just rumors. Who
Yeah,
knows if there's any actual legitimacy behind this? But what I've heard is they could be building to a World War Hulk.
it's too late for that. It's too late to do World War Hulk. They already did Planet Hulk.
That came well. The MCU always does things on their own. That's the other thing too.
Well, yeah,
Is you
they have to make it fit. But
they always mess it, and I think that's part of what we know about is coming from
is
leaks
it going
of
to be
of
similar to
Brave New World. There is parts of Brave New World that does that's what that Captain America is called, right?
Yeah, the new one.
The new
Yeah.
Captain America movie, Brave New World. There's some leaks of that hint towards that.
Towards what? World War
case
Hulk?
of a case for World War Hulk. Yes.
I mean, yeah, because isn't Red Hulk gonna be in it? They like recasted it to Harrison Ford.
Yes. That's another quick thing I want
By
to
the
bring
way,
up
R.I.P.
too.
William
Because
Hurt.
exactly, because
He was
at the end of
wonderful
the
in this
day, as much as I love Harrison Ford,
He is
he is one of my
not.
favorite actors.
He is not
not.
Thunderbolt Ross.
He is not Ross. He is not Thunderbolt Ross.
He's gonna have some pretty William Hurt sized boots to fill, and that's
William
not
Hurt did a fantastic job of playing Ross.
for you.
I think he's one of those characters that's kind of just underappreciated because he's always that side character kind of at the end of the day. At least for more later on movies, right?
Nobody's got a Thunderbolt Ross poster on their wall.
Right, and so but I think he kind of did to an extent though what Robert Downey Jr. did for the character of Iron Man. What I think Hurt embodied the character very well.
Yeah.
Of
no, I think
having a great general character that you could tell that he just hates Hulk.
Yeah,
and that's what
all
he is.
Has to be. I genuinely don't know if Harrison Ford is gonna be able to do it, especially if
I love Harrison Ford. It's just hard to see it.
Especially if
and that's the whole thing too.
Red Hulk is like what?
Yeah,
Harrison Ford does not strike me as an angry person. William Hurt strikes me as an angry
that's the
person.
funny thing too about this whole thing is when asked, I think it was press for a movie. Maybe it was Indiana Jones.
Probably.
But it could have been another one. Somebody asked him for why did you take this role? And he was like, oh, just because it's something different. I've never done one of these before. I'm like, okay.
I don't like that. I don't like it. It's I hate to say it, but I think it might just be a paycheck. Well. I think it might just be a paycheck for him.
It could be. It very well could be, and we'll see what happens.
And it sucks.
Plus that movie's going massive reshoots now as well. So
yeah, it sucks that we're not gonna get a decent Hulk after this. Or after everything.
I'll say this also about Brave New World because I don't know how much you'd want me to get into leaks or anything specifically.
No, go ahead.
Although we're talking about this, but rumors I've heard, something we do know is that they're doing massive reshoots. They're supposedly cutting out Serpent Society that they were trying to have in the movie.
Why? What's your beef with the Serpent
Society? But what they're also what I've heard too is that somehow the leader is connected to all of it being in it. I think maybe something I've heard, and so
I mean, I guess if they're having Red Hulk, I guess, but what does the leader have to do with Captain America, especially Sam Wilson Captain America?
And plus, this movie deals with the fallout of Eternals as well that people have been asking about.
Eternals. What does Captain America have to do with fucking Eternals?
Because of what is left on Earth at the end of Eternals.
I don't see why they're having Sam Wilson be the one to handle that.
This is the thing. It's kind of combining lost points that was never picked up necessarily from this movie and Eternals kind of being this one thing while also maybe trying to do things on their own. It seems like a weird hodgepodge of it's one of those things where it's well, nobody asked for Sam Wilson as Captain America. So how about we give him a plot line of other stuff that we haven't yet to do yet?
I guess we'll get to that when we get to that, but I don't know. I like the.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make this like general statement while we're still early in the series. I like the MCU, but I genuinely, the
Hmm.
more they do the things they're doing, the more I just lose interest in it. I'm very much losing interest in the MCU as a. It feels like it's just corporate greed that's pushing it now.
I mean, that's we
I
they
mean,
don't
we've
have
been
a lot of
new.
the love and care that I think these earlier first three phases had. Not saying
Yeah.
that there's bad stuff that we get, or not saying that there's great stuff that we get every now and then. There absolutely is. We'll get into those
No,
projects way
I
later
like a lot of the newer movies, but the bad ones are just come on.
when they're bad. They're bad.
When they're bad, they're bad. When they're good, they're great. But I mean, you really got to sludge through a lot of the bad. Like Daredevil, I
Hmm.
didn't want to. I like Charlie Cox. I do not want to see that adaptation of Daredevil.
Yeah, that's
This
a
is
whole other
not the
conversation.
conversation for Hulk. Anyway,
That's a whole other conversation. All right, but
I think that they do
uh,
Hulk really well in this movie, but that is not Bruce Banner.
right. Okay, I agree with that too. The other thing I was wanting to say mention as well is Mark Ruffalo, I think, plays a better Banner,
But
but the
this
monster attached to it isn't as good as this monster.
I I'm not gonna agree with you on that one because I do like the monster sometimes. But you also have to keep in mind, and this is a big part of Banner's character in the newer comics, is he's actually like a DID system. It's multiple personalities. Um, which is why it
Right.
kills me that we're not going to get more because we're never going to get a. I really like it. I like that Ruffalo portrays Hulk as not just a creature but as a fully separate personality. Um,
Right.
but I also just like the representation. But anyway, what I'm getting at is, um, I like Edward Norton better, or not Edward Norton. I like Mark Ruffalo better. Just across the board. I think he's a much better Banner. I think he did a. I think that era of Hulk is much better, and just in general, I think. Um, I don't like Edward Norton all that much as Hulk.
I mean, I like I said, I think that the characterization that is Hulk, I think, is the best that we've seen yet. I definitely think
Yet
some
we're
of the
2 movies
banner
in.
side.
Best we've seen yet. We're 2 movies in. Yeah, this is the only Hulk
Well,
characterization
yet is in
in the
everything that we
MCU.
currently have
Okay.
in the MCU.
Yeah, I figured. I'm just
Um,
with you.
but I definitely think the character of Banner, though, the human side is.
Important.
Uh,
It's very
it,
important too.
I definitely think it was better with Ruffalo, specifically in the first, I guess, a couple Avengers movies.
When it, I think after I think it, Endgame is where I started to not like that Hulk as
You
much.
see, but that's the other thing too. Is it's I have like a love hate relationship with the one in
With
Infinity War.
Smart Hulk.
Um, well, yeah, I hate that. I'll just say that right
Well,
now.
no,
I
that's what I
hate
was
it.
talking
Like,
about. Infinity War, he didn't even
but
show up.
well, no, he did at the beginning when he fought Thanos,
Oh,
and
yes. Okay.
I
Yeah,
kind of
no, that's
I like hate it because of what it does in Endgame. But I guess I shouldn't necessarily discredit it. But at the same time, it's like
it certainly is a choice that they
we
made.
should have what we should have gotten was their whole alternate. I believe there's an alternate cut of the movie out there of Infinity War where we would have seen Hulk again at the end of it, as shown
Yeah,
in that one teaser trailer, and as we've seen in or they. I think they even made like a special deluxe statue of this that you can go out and buy if you have the big bucks money of Hulk busting out of the Hulkbuster suit. Like that would have been a great
I think I said
arc
that.
for him by the end of the movie that we never
I
got.
think they
Anyway,
could have come to
I'm
terms with each
angry about
other.
everything. See, here's the thing: is I like the idea of what they do with Hulk. Start doing with Hulk Infinity War. I just don't like where it goes to. And I haven't liked anything with Hulk since.
No, I'm discounting the show, of course.
Very much including the show.
No,
That's
you
another
love
big thing
She-Hulk.
right there.
No, we know you
Oh
love
my
She-Hulk.
gosh.
No, don't
That's
worry.
gonna
We
be
know.
one wild episode
That's
to
gonna be
get
a
into.
fun
Holy crap.
episode. I'm genuine. I think that's gonna be the one of the very few episodes where we genuinely like wholeheartedly disagree with each other because I love that show. I love it. I'm not gonna let you
Here.
win that
Oh
episode.
gosh.
You
No,
don't get to win during that
absolutely.
episode.
Oh
Anyway,
boy, it's
anyway.
gonna be something else.
So with all that in mind, tier
All that, man.
list.
All said and done, Incredible Hulk is a underrated movie, I think.
I'm
At the end
with
of the
you.
day.
It's good.
So,
Full stop. That's it. That's all I have for you. It's good. So as for a tier
I'm
list,
torn on where I want to put this on the tier list, though.
I
I mean, obviously, out of what we have, if we're just doing solid ranking, it's obviously below Iron Man. Like Iron Man's great, but as far as putting a letter ranking, I'm kind of like torn.
I'm kind of like I'm kind of like I'm not too worried about comparing it to Iron Man.
Sure,
I just but like I do want to I mean like keep it in mind, but don't like let it affect your overall score.
sure.
Um
Mm-hmm.
with that in mind, I would give it a solid B. I mean, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have any it's less the content that I dislike and more just the way it's presented.
Execution.
Not even
Yeah.
the execution, just the way it's presented.
Well, that is the execution, is it not?
I suppose. You're not fully wrong.
uh, but yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was kind of going overall. I might put it more closer to a B minus side, but I definitely think it earns a solid B.
Yeah, I have nothing against it. It's just but it's just not, it didn't knock my
Mm-hmm.
socks off.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just a good movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, good
Absolutely.
stuff. I mean, another pretty not eventful, a pretty uneventful episode. Um,
Well, we got into a lot of different Hulk stuff, and I know we'll be talking a lot more on Hulk. Because here's the thing, too: is there's some characters that are done great in the comics that I just don't think are shown that
as
well
much
on screen
love
overall.
and
And
yeah,
Hulk is one of those. Actually, for me, I kind of have like two giant MCU characters that feel that way. One of those is Hulk.
yeah, yeah. No, I like it. I mean, I like Hulk as a character. I like most of what they do with him um in the MCU, but
Mm-hmm.
in general, this movie is a product of its time, and you're gonna hear me use that phrase a lot during these first, especially when we get to the Avengers. I'm gonna be using that a lot. It's a product
Mm-hmm.
of its time. It was made in 2008, and it's made for the 2008 audience. But that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Definitely tell that.
I like it. I like the movie. I mean, that's
I do as well. I
so.
do as well.
If you want to see more of me, which let's be honest, of course you do, you can find me
Yeah,
here
debatable.
on
I'm
the.
joking.
You can find me here at this channel and on Twitch, spelled the same way. Blue has deceased. If you want to find Spencer, you can find him at the Dingus Den, which is on
Exactly.
YouTube, and you can find him at Red Shirts Remastered on both YouTube and Twitch. Those links are going to be in the description.
Exactly.
Come check us out. Spencer does some pretty good content. I mostly just play games here, but go check him out. Show him some love. He's so much fun to have here on the channel. Um, you
Fun
know,
to be here.
it is. I think it is. When I came up with this concept, I'm like, I think this would be really fun to do with Spencer. Because we agree on some stuff, and I think we have enough of a repertoire between the two of us that if we do disagree on something, it's not going to be like a major fucking issue. It's just going to be like, I don't agree with you. You know.
Yeah, I
But yeah.
agree.
I will say we are going to have some more people on the show eventually, which I'm pretty. I only have. I asked one of your guys from Red Church
I did see.
Remastered. And so we'll see about that. But I think the first guest is going to be in 3 episodes. when we do Captain America:
Very
The First
cool.
Avenger. And
Very
that's going to
nice.
be a very. It's going to be a guest.
Here you
But
go. Stay tuned for who it is.
yeah. As for what we're doing next week, or I think next week we'll have to discuss it.
Yeah, I should be fine. Yes,
We'll figure it out. I don't want to like put
sure.
anything to stone tablet.
Absolutely.
But next week
Absolutely.
we're gonna be doing Iron Man 2, which I'm kind of pumped for. I'm not gonna lie.
It's going to be an interesting rewatch.
I love Iron Man 2. Absolutely adore it. It's one of the weirdest ones that I just adore. But also, I mean, with how the first Iron Man episode went, should be fun, you know? So thank you so
Absolutely.
much for watching. Make
Till
sure you
then.
go check out Spencer. Links in the description. He puts out some good stuff. Um, check my channel out. But other than that, any last thoughts, Spencer?
See you all next time.
Yeah, we will see you in the next one when we talk about Iron Man 2. Thanks for hanging out with us, and yeah.